Welcome to the Partnership Path Podcast, a space where your partner management challenges are transformed into insights, where your expertise isn't just recognized, but celebrated. You're not alone on this partnership journey, whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out. We're here to guide you, to equip you. Dive deep with us into the world of partner management as we bring you real-world insights, expert advice, and strategies that truly make a difference. Ready to elevate your career? Let's take another step on this journey together.
Hey, John.
Hey, Toni. How are you doing today?
I'm very good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Things are good. I can't complain. Yeah.
Excellent. Right. I'm going to give you something that I used to complain about this week. I've got a question for
All right.
you.
Okay.
So when I was a partner manager, I found the whole business of fiscal calendars absolutely maddening.
Yeah.
So you've got your vendor's fiscal calendar, you've got 1, 2, 10, 12 different partners who may have 3, 4 different operating periods between them. So how do you overcome this?
Yeah. Super good question. And what I think probably one of the most challenging things in the partner manager type of job is to figure out that balance.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've I think we've talked in other episodes about kind of your job being a translating job. Like your
Mm-hmm.
job is to translate your internal stuff into
Yep.
something that makes sense for the partner. And this is another one of those.
Mm.
But this one I actually think is a bit of a two-way street, right?
Yeah.
That the partner also has to do some translating here.
Mm.
And so I always recommend that you approach that conversation at least from the concept of an operating period.
Okay.
We call it a mutual operating period. If we go back to one of the very first episodes we did where we talked about partner versus partnership
Yeah.
and the fact that the way we go to market together, if we're going to be really partners and we're going to have a partnership, that partnership is kind of a entity all by
Mm.
itself. Even though it's
Mm-hmm.
not really a joint venture, even though it's
Mm.
just a partnership, it still needs to be treated like an entity.
Mm.
And that means that it should probably have its own fiscal period.
Okay.
And right. And so it has a
Yeah.
mutual operating period that could be whatever length makes sense. So if my fiscal and your fiscal don't match,
Mm.
can we create in the partnership maybe two operating periods that
Yeah.
compensate for each of us?
Yeah.
Right. So like, I know Microsoft for years and years was on sort of a July 1 to June 30th
Yeah.
fiscal, right?
Yeah.
And so many of the Microsoft partners were on calendar fiscals,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And so that particular one is kind of easy because we can do a 6-month operating
Yeah.
period, right? Where we put together a
Mm.
plan for 6 months that's based on their planning cycle, their review cycle, all that. And then we put together another operating period for 6 months that's
Yeah.
based on ours.
Mm.
And it requires a little bit of math, of course, right? Because at the beginning of their planning, they're going to do a whole year of here's what we hope to get out.
Yeah.
But, that's not that hard to do. And, if we can find a way to create a period or multiple periods that allow each of us to translate back home a little
Mm.
bit easier, it can be super powerful. Um,
Yeah. It's quite, I was sort of thinking about all the different plates you have to spin there because I guess, we are in a subscription era now.
yeah,
So
yeah,
we're gradually not fully moving away from big spiky deals. So there's an element of that. You've got this kind of monthly recurring revenue that's going on.
yeah,
But also you've got when like the fiscal calendar drives behavior around
yeah,
discounts, offers. I'm
yeah,
kind of, just giving me nightmares. So I'm thinking about those techniques that can just make that, like, say, if you've got a
yeah,
clear operating period for the partnership, you can go, whatever else is happening, we've got this here and
yeah,
this here. And we
yeah,
know that that can help us to kind of hit the
yeah.
priorities that we jointly have together for the partnership.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the SaaS model relieves some of the pressure
Mm,
on a end of quarter
yeah,
performance and reporting type of
yeah,
thing like that. I think it begins to smooth that a little bit,
yeah,
but it doesn't relieve the pressure of when do I do planning,
yeah,
right? Because that's, you know, I've worked almost every vendor I work with
yeah.
is not on a calendar cycle, right?
No,
So they're always trying to force their partners to do annual planning
yeah,
in a month that the partner doesn't do annual planning,
yeah,
right? And so that's the balance, right? It's I agree with you. SaaS kind of relieves the pressure on the back end, but not on the front end. And so that's why I think these operating periods are they're so critical.
mm,
And look, I think, the other thing I would say on that is ending up with a set of operating periods is actually less important
hmm,
than having the conversation,
yeah,
right? Actually acknowledging to your partner, hey, I get that we're asking you to do something that's on a cycle that's not yours,
yeah,
and you probably want to ask us to do stuff on a cycle that's not ours.
yeah,
Like having that conversation
mm,
is a victory in itself,
yeah,
right? It at least communicates to the partner, I get it,
yeah,
as opposed to what we normally do, which is, hey, we're the vendor. You got to snap to our, operating cycle. You got to snap to our rules, do it our way.
yeah.
It just shows a little bit of compassion, a little bit of understanding, and hopefully builds a little bit of trust.
Yeah, and I suppose you open the door a little bit as well into it's something that I was always asked was, when do these things happen at Microsoft?
Yeah.
Who makes what decision when? When is it musical chairs time when everybody changes roles? And so, as you say, by acknowledging this is likely to happen around this time, this is when everyone goes off to conference. This is when you're likely to get all the big enterprise deals under discussion. So, like you say, you're having an adult conversation where you say, okay, we know these are the variables and these are the time pressures we're under.
Yeah.
How do we make this thing as smooth as possible whilst knowing that it will be bumpy at times?
That's right. That's right.
Mm,
Yeah, and we talked in another episode about kind of getting a handle on the partner's business priorities and
yeah.
trying to maybe visually map that out and stuff. And a great way to start that conversation is to actually understand,
Mm,
when do they do planning,
yeah.
right? Because it's not just us telling
Yeah.
them, hey, here's when we do stuff. It's also, hey, what does it look like in your environment?
Yeah.
Like, when do you guys have musical
Yeah.
chairs in your organization? When does everyone, right? I
Yeah.
mean, that's a fair question, and it's a good way to start to say, hey, here's how it works in our org. Tell me a little bit about what happens in yours,
Yeah.
so we can, plan for when are things going to get really hairy.
Yeah.
Like, when should we put in our plan, hey, like this month we just need to leave each other
Yeah.
alone because I know you're going to be buried in protecting your job, or
Yeah.
trying to figure out the new org structure or whatever, and,
Yeah.
and I just need to leave you alone. Like that's part of being partners.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I like that. I think that would have made my life a bit easier, John, frankly.
I don't think when I don't think we were really pushing this concept of a mutual operating period when you and I worked together all those years ago. So I don't think we had the advantage of giving you that little tip or trick back
Yeah.
then. So I apologize.
Yeah. Why didn't you just predict that this was going to happen? Um, so
Yeah,
I would love to know from the audience kind of what tactics they've used to
yeah,
address this, because like you
yeah,
say, um, there are we don't all operate on to the same fiscal calendar. So I think it'd be good to hear how other
yeah.
people are managing that.
Yeah, I'd love to hear that. And then I'd also love to hear if anyone's got some
Mm,
success stories around even having the
mm,
conversation. Like, how did just broaching the conversation potentially change the way the partner reacted to
mm,
you? We just love to hear some of those kinds of stories
yeah,
as well. So, all right, listeners, that means it's over to you guys to put some stuff out there and let's get a conversation going.
fantastic. Thanks, John.
Thank you for joining us on the Partnership Path today. Remember, in the vast world of partner management, you have the potential to shine, to become the authority in your field. Don't let the journey end here. Subscribe, reflect, and lead. Together, let's redefine the essence of partnership in today's dynamic partner ecosystem. Until next time,